we're talking about Photoshop versus Canva and what it is, and what each one is, and what's best to utilize for your interior design business. And I want to preface this as far as I'm not here to tell you which one's best for your particular business. Everyone has their own workflow and everyone has their own needs. So I'm just here to tell you the pros and cons of both, and um, as far as which one in each category, in my own opinion, wins. Um, that's not saying each one's better than the other. It's just as far as from a um, graphic standpoint and as far as tools and things like that, how one outperforms the other. So, if you're new here, my name is Lauren Brantley, and I've been working with other designers, and I've been working with clients, and I'm also newly an appointed professor here at my local university, and I've been doing all that as far as the interior design industry for over 5 years. I hold a bachelor's degree in interior design, and I also hold a master's degree in visual communication design. My passion, what's been my passion for several years now, is to help other designers visually present their designs more effectively. So what we'll be covering today is a quick comparison of the two. And we'll also, the two, Photoshop and Canva, we'll also be going over interior designers' needs. And I did not change the slide. Oh, Lord. I am human. But we'll also be covering questions, and we'll be covering a price comparison and things like that. So let's get started. So this is a featured comparison. It also goes over price, and I'm just going to briefly go over this. But as far as the price, which is first and foremost, you'll see that the price per month is drastically different between the two. Canva starts at $12.99 a month, and you get 5 memberships with that, so you can add your team for free. And then Photoshop is $31 a month, and then the annual prices are around the same. And Canva, of course, is best for beginner or intermediate. And Photoshop, however, you can go into very advanced graphic skills and photography skills with that. It's just, and I'll go into this more later, but it really, what is holding you back as far as with Photoshop is your skill set as the user. It's whatever training you have behind that, and advancing your training is what's going to advance you with Photoshop. And as far as big difference between the two is Canva's web-based and Photoshop is something you have to download, so you have to keep that in mind. And both, however, have great graphic design tools. Canva has tons of templates, and Photoshop has endless capabilities with their editing tools and shapes and text and different ways you can adjust the text and all that. And then they both do have collaboration capabilities. We're not really going to go over that today, but both of them are fairly easy to collaborate with your teams. And if you want, this is as far as Canva Pro. We're not talking about Canva Free today, because Canva Pro is more comparable in terms of Photoshop. But if you want to learn more about the comparison between Canva Pro and Canva Free, you want to check out my previous seminar that I've done in terms of comparing those two. And I also have a spreadsheet on that as well in the group. So we're going to talk about ease of use as a feature. So Canva is obviously the winner on this because when you first get into Photoshop, and many of you, as I've heard this in the group, have had this issue. When you get into Photoshop, you are probably overwhelmed. There's a ton of features, and some of the features have multiple uses. And if you don't have a previous background and training on Photoshop, it can become rather cumbersome. So you want to make sure that you are provided some type of training with Photoshop if you're not tech savvy in that way, if you're not somebody that can just pick up that type of software. And as far as Canva, Canva is very easy to use. It's something that some people can instantly pick up, and some people cannot, and that's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I train people, and that's why I have my course that has more advanced techniques as well within Canva. And so Canva is a lot more user friendly, and that's why they built it. That's honestly why the owner built Canva, was to make it more user friendly in comparison to Adobe products like Photoshop. So that is, if you are someone that needs something more user friendly, if you're you're so overwhelmed when it comes to the Adobe products like Photoshop, Canva is definitely your gal when it comes to that. And
what are you doing? You cannot have that for that. Sorry.
Design tools and features. When I think of design tools and features, I think of Photoshop as being the winner, and I'll explain that more in detail. But Canva provides a ton of tools and features that are growing over time, and it continues to expand, and we talk about that all the time in the group. But Canva does have its limitations, and you may experience that sometimes. But the elements, SVGs, as as I know them to be, but the elements and the text as well can't be customized. So if you want, if you find let's say you find a shape, but you want it to be transformed in a certain way, it can't be transformed at all. You have to work around that shape or that text. Now, this does not lend itself a problem for a lot of reasons, for a lot of uses. So that is okay. But if you're wanting something more customizable, such as like when we're creating concept boards, you're needing something in perspective, or if you're trying to add text, but you need it to align a certain way, or if you need to, like what we call kern text, and change the spacing of the text in a specific way, or anything like that that's advancedly customized, Photoshop will be where you would want to use that. And you can do that quite easily in Photoshop with some training if you're not as familiar. And so if you want more customization with those type documents, like concept boards and any type of like presentation documents, that's really mainly where I use Photoshop, is the presentation documents and things like that. And also I do use it for a lot of background removal. And so any type of advanced type of work like that, that's where you'll want to utilize Photoshop. And that's where it shines here, and that's where it becomes so important for interior designers to use. So next, photo editing tools. This is a big one, and this is where you want to consider, if you haven't already, using Photoshop, because Canva is a place where you'll want to start. If you've never edited photos, if you're new to editing photos, you can use those tools to start, become a beginner. But if you're wanting to get more into editing your interior photos, become more advanced in it, you want to utilize Photoshop. Photoshop offers so many tools. I can't even fit them on a page. Like, but the first one you need to start out with, and if you take any type of photo editing class, they'll talk about it. It is the camera raw feature. It's the easiest way and the fastest way to edit your photos. And I encourage you, if you do have Photoshop, to play around in camera raw. And even if you have Photoshop and you're afraid of camera raw, utilize the photo filters a little bit, and the adjustment tools, the other adjustment tools that they utilize in the menu. But other than that, they also have all kinds of fixes that you can add to your photos, where you can remove items that wasn't there. And there's a lot of people are trying to replace Photoshop with a lot of mobile apps that are out right now. But truly, nothing can actually do it the way that the user wants it to, unless you have control over it, like you do in Photoshop as the user. You cannot do what you can do in Photoshop like you can do in a mobile app. Because I've tried some of these mobile apps before just to see, and a lot of them are created by, like, what you're wanting to do is created by a computer, and you have no real control over what is being done. In Photoshop, you have complete control. You're using brush tools to do it, and you have complete control over what's being done. So nothing is really ever going to be able to beat Photoshop editing tools, but you can start in Canva and start playing around if you've never played around with any type of adjustments. I would encourage you to try to play around a little bit with those, then move into Photoshop if you're wanting to start trying to edit your photos in a more advanced manner. Because it's really it's not as hard as you might be thinking it is. So we have performance and system requirements. A lot of people worry about this, especially if you've had your computer for a while. You worry about this. You worry about adding another thing to your computer. Good thing about Canva, it's web-based. The only thing you really have to have is Google Chrome. It will not work on anything else. I get a lot of questions, especially with Safari. People try to use it on Safari, and they're like, something's not working. It's glitching out on me. It's because you're using Safari. So you want to make sure that you're using Google Chrome, and that's it. So that makes Canva really super easy to use, especially if you have like a Chromebook or something like that. Canva is definitely the winner there. As far as Photoshop is a download to your Windows on your Mac, and they do require a minimum of performance and system requirements. However, the computer they require is not very high, so most computers will meet these requirements. But you do have to make sure that you have the available storage. I know a lot of people, when they're downloading things, they don't realize that they have already had their storage took up, so you want to make sure of that. So, what type of features for designers does each of these have? The key features, and there's many more features, but these are the key features that I consider some of the best out of each. As far as Photoshop goes, I consider perspective the number one feature, and something that really, as a designer, you should consider being able to put your items in perspective in a concept board or um, a 2D rendering plan is something that you should really consider offering to your clients. If it really puts your boards into the next level, and you really need to consider offering that. You could also add, if you have a floor plan or a drawing, like a sketch or anything that you've drawn up, you can add color, finishes, and effects to those visuals, and with very little effort, and you can bring those visuals to life via Photoshop. You can also apply text in different ways to your boards, and like I said, create a 2D render. And you can also create your presentation boards um, in that way as well. You can also create presentation boards in Canva, and also Canva has thousands of ready to use templates that are just for interior designers. If you search interior designer, they have thousands of templates for all different uses, social media. Um, they have presentation templates. They have Pinterest, uh, YouTube templates. They have all kinds of different templates that are just for interior designers, and they have and then you also have the ability to create a concept board creation. Um, but this is like where it won't be in perspective, so it'll just be a flat image. Um, and then you can create a logo, and you can create a shop look that's actually shoppable. And that is one of the big advantages to Canva, is it is web based, which makes everything that you create, it can become a landing page, a website, somewhere that the client can shop off of your blog or anywhere you can send it. So that is a really big advantage to Canva, and something to consider. So these are comparing concept boards and what they look like. I do concept boards in both Canva and Photoshop. So on the left, you see a Photoshop concept board. And so you can see I put the rugs in perspective, and as well, the pillows you can cut out and make it look like it's actually sitting in the chair. And I also fixed this rug, um, the blanket, to where it looks like it's laying on the um, ottoman there. And so there's several more things that I could have done to this, but this is a fairly simple one. And so, just little touches like that really set it apart. Um, and then this is one I created in Canva, which is quite nice as well. Um, and you can add shadows, and you can add shadows in Photoshop as well, but I chose not to for that one. But I've added shadows to each of the items, which helps them pop. Um, and everything is layered correctly. And so this is a very nice concept board to present to your client. And nothing's wrong with each of these. So really, what it comes down to is deciding for yourself uh, what type of presentation do you want to present to your client, and what your workflow is. Do you want these items to be shoppable directly from the concept board? Um, do you have another way that you want them to be shoppable? If so, is there availability to utilize Photoshop and then plug in the Photoshop concept board and use a shoppable method otherwise? So there's so many different ways that you can use both. It's just a matter of deciding which one is for you and your um, brand. And I have a quiz for that I will include in the info of the video. But another thing I wanted to mention, you kind of see the difference between these two with the perspective and like what I was talking about. The books are out of perspective, in terms of everything else in the room, and the rug you can't do that at all. Just had to lay it down. So I mean that's just something to kind of be aware of. But I really love the look of both of these, and I have gladly presented both of these to clients. Um, but it's a matter of deciding. We go to the next slide. So it's just a matter of deciding your right workflow and your process, and honestly, your finances, which one you want to pay for, and also it's a matter of deciding if you're unfamiliar with Photoshop and you haven't learned those type of techniques. If you want to use Photoshop, making sure that you learn the right techniques and evaluate if it's best for you to learn those techniques in your business, and make sure that you use it to its fullest potential, and use Canva to its fullest potential. I personally, like I said, I use both. Um, it's just a matter of deciding per client which uh, and deciding on what package they use. So, for example, I'll give you an example real quick. I have a refresh package that comes with just the concept and a floor plan. You know, it's just the basic. It don't come with a rendering. A lot of times, I will use Canva for those concept boards because that is the less pricey of my packages, and so I'll use those. I'll use Canva for those. But a lot of times for my either full service clients or my in person clients, I'll use Photoshop because a lot of times those clients are the ones that we are holding their hands a lot. It's not so much of a DIY type project, and so it depends on your client a lot of the times on what level of communication and what level of deliverable you want to deliver to them, how much time you want to spend on it. So that's a lot to consider when it comes to utilizing which one. And if you want to utilize Canva for every single thing you put out, that's perfectly fine. But you want to make sure on both Canva and Photoshop that you're delivering the best. You're delivering the best presentation you can deliver. So you want to make sure that you put in just as much effort uh, to each presentation as you would any. Every client needs to have equal um, equal amounts of effort into each one. It doesn't matter if it's on Canva or on Photoshop. So I hope that was helpful. I know it was a lot, and I know I didn't like clearly um, say which one was better, Canva or Photoshop. Um, but I that's what I feel. I feel like in my role as here at graphic design for interior designers, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I don't want to tell you how to run your business, and I just want to give you all the facts about which one has these features, which one doesn't, and which one would work better in this circumstances. And I don't want to tell you how to run your business in a sense. I want you to be able to freely do what you do to communicate to your client, but I want you to be able to do it to the best of your ability. And that's what I'm here to do, is to help you do it to the best of your ability. And so if any of y'all have any questions about Canva or Photoshop, feel free to put it in the comments of this video.